Hello boys and girls, and welcome to yet another episode about Capris on Mangusto Garage. Again, celebrating the 50 years of the Mark II Capri. Much love to all the Mark II Capri heads out there. This episode is about a specific Capri. Now in 1977, Ford were looking to sportify, is that a word? Make it more like sports. More sporty cars. So they released the X-pack series. They did various upgrades for the Mark IV Cortina, the Super Sport Fiesta, the X-pack Mark II Escort, which they did various versions of, and also the Mark II Capri. Now, S00636R was a press car. It was the one that Ford made to demonstrate the X-pack series. A lot of the Capri heads know this car. It's always been surrounded by a lot of mystery and stuff. So it was used in 4 episodes of the Professionals as well. Klansman, Everest was also conquered, and 2 more which I can't remember off the top of my head. But it was used by Bjorn Waldegaard, who drove to Scotland for the Dutch racing driver or rally driver, and it had a big write-up in Autocar, and yeah, Ford really put it out as a demonstrator, you know. There was also, as an interesting note, there was a sister car called S00622R, which was a white 3-litre S, and that had all the engine modifications, the limited slip diff, the 7J Ronald 4-spoke wheels, the handling pack and all this sort of stuff, but it didn't have the body kit. Now S00636R did have the body kit, and we're going to take a few minutes to just look at the history of that. So here is a picture of it at Averley. You can see it's outside the Advanced Vehicle Operations Centre. Here's another picture of it that I hope the guy doesn't mind us nicking. He was a mechanic working at AVO at the time, and he took it home to his mama's place one lunchtime. All these pictures are on Google, so I'm not sure anyone's going to get too upset about him. So this car stayed with Ford for a year or two, and Barry Reynolds, the guy that was in charge of Ford Media, let it out to the professionals to use. Great bit of advertising. It was used along with a 3-litre gear P&O 580R, I believe. Now all the cars from the professionals have been pretty much accounted for, apart from S00. And it's been surrounded by mystery. You know, it was scrapped, it was crashed, it was painted black, it gone to Ireland, all this sort of stuff. Well, here's a picture of the car in the early 90s, painted black, on a friend's drive. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at what we believe is S00636R. It's here in Portugal in my garage. Now I know a lot of you are going to be freaking out now. It's not as it was, so don't expect me to pull it out and it be absolutely immaculate. But what we'll do is we'll have a look. We'll have a look at all the parts on it, the chassis numbers there in it, the color plates there in it, and the chassis plate. It still retains its limited slip diff. I've got the engine in the garage. The numbers don't match, but the chap that I got the car off, he assures me it was the original engine. Now Averley, Advanced Vehicle Operations Ford, did take the engine out and modify it according to the advert. So we'll have a look at another picture the guy will put up now. As you can see, it says it's got big valve heads and a larger carburettor. That's a carburettor, guy, not an injection. Boo. So yeah, so it was about 170 brake horsepower car, which back in the day was pretty quick. It had the handling pack on the front. It's the only British Ford made X-pack Capri, as in factory made. They made, the dealerships made them, and certainly when they continued on to the Mark IIIs, sometimes of dubious build quality, I must say. I've seen a lot of unrestored Mark III X-packs. They weren't always finished to the greatest standard, but it's Ford's mass-produced nonsense. So what we're going to do, we're going to get the car out of the garage now, and we're going to have a look around it. And I want you to keep an open mind, because there's been so much mystery surrounding this car, and I want you to see why I think this is the original car. There's nothing to hide with it at all. It is what it is. I'll explain the story when we have a look at the car, of what happened to the car. So, ladies and gentlemen, in all their unloved glory, may I present to you S00636R, looking a little different to what most of you know it as. So after it was painted black, in the words of the chap that I obtained it from, it had an argument with a bus and some street furniture in Barnet High Street, and this was in around 91-92. It had been painted black by then. Now, as you can see, a lot of it's in red primer. It's had a different cradle put in it, because I'll inlay a photograph here to show that the bottom arm, basically the guy avoided the bus, it hit a road bollard, I'm guessing, basically ripped this wing clean off. Ford did cut, when they made it, they cut away a lot of the metal of the original wings. So there wasn't exactly a lot of structure there, and then the back end came round and hit the bus. Now the two bits of kit that which didn't get completely obliterated, I've still got. The seats are in very good condition. The mileage on the car is about 68,000, I believe. So it was on the road for about 15 years before it was damaged. Now there are a few telltale signs. We're not going to show you the chassis number, obviously, but I know the chassis number, so if you want to just come in close, guy, and take a picture of that. Yeah, so there's the chassis number in the shell. We have got the chassis plate, it's hanging up, and the thing there. The colour plate is also there, and again, everything points to it have been painted black. They've done the tops of the wings. It wasn't a great paint job when they painted it black, but the inside, obviously, it's a silver 3 litre S. You know, so everything's pointing. I think it was red oxide just to keep some rust at bay or whatever, you know, for whatever reason. Let's say the colour plate's there. There's also a few odd things about it, like the shell. These are the original strut tops, but they've been plug welded, as well as these are usually just spot welded, but these are plug welded. And as you can see, I've taken the paint, taken the red oxide off, taken the black off, and I've gone down to the silver. Now this is done in factory, so I don't know if this was Ford AVO's attempt to try and strengthen the shell up. I have no idea. It's got the original Bilstein like RS3100 type struts, 3 litre with the 3 litre discs, the vented ones. As I say, it has a new cradle. There's still remnants of some of the damage there.
It's got some sweet R888s on it. Been racing or something, has it?
No, the guy, unfortunately, the one wheel got completely obliterated when it hit the bollard and the curb, I'm guessing. So the old owner did buy two replacement 7.5J original Ford 4-spokes, and he just put tyres on it so he could get it moving. The rest of the car has the original P Centurios 235/60 13s. We've got the original seats. Now I have got pictures of the original seats on my phone, but we'll crack this one open just so you can see. It's the proper orange deck chair interior.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. You got to remember both Lewis Collins and what's his name? Martin Shaw both sat not on the back seats, or perhaps they did, but they certainly sat on both the front seats. There's lots of weird stuff, and like I say, it's got the single leaf rear springs. There's more evidence of the dodgy black respray and some of the damage I believed it sustained when it was accident damaged. But on the whole, it's actually, the shell is pretty good because it only did 15 years. I think it's pretty well looked after, and all the A-pillars, the usual places where they rust, floors, rear chassis legs, all right, the strut tops have got some swelling in them, so be replacing those. But there's lots of interesting stuff on the car that it still retains. And I'll give you, for instance, okay, so these are the two original bits of kit. All the kits were made by Fibre Sports. Anyone says, oh, it's a genuine Ford kit. All the Fibre Sport ones have the Ford stamp in. Yeah, and so down the front. Yeah, so all the kits made by Fibre Sports. Unfortunately, the moulds got destroyed when Fibre Sports had a fire about 15-20 years ago. But the Capri Club still make them, and they're okay. As an interesting note, most X-pack kits, this part goes up to affix it, but this being an original, well, an early kit, or the first one fitted in England, it went downwards, which I'm sure that made it ever so much fun to try and fit. But I think they lipped it first and then connected it afterwards. So yeah, is it better? Is it? No, not really. I think it's probably worse, and it's a lot more fandangled way of doing it. But you know, that's how they were original. And there we go. These are I would suspect the original, to do 68,000 miles on a set of tyres. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's the second set it's had. You can't buy these. You haven't been able to buy them since, well, the 80s really. The car was built in November 1976. Now the engine number, as I mentioned earlier, doesn't match, but the build date on the engine does. A lot of friends that are a bit more anarchy on numbers than me have confirmed the engine is of that, you know, and for it to have been replaced by another engine that was built in exactly the same month and the same year, I find that very unlikely. So we can assume that it is the original engine. So the whole point of this is for you guys to decide, is this the original car? I know it's the original car. The guy bought it in 1991. He was the third owner, Ford, then the second owner, then him. So after his mate smashed it up, it sat in his garage for 30 something years. So there's no question. The wheels are date stamped 76, again to match up with the all the build date of this car. It's a November 76 car. It went to England from Germany as a standard 3-litre S, and Averley then rebuilt it, so as an X-pack. So once I've done the white 3-litre gear, which you've probably seen in other episodes, whether, I don't know, I mentioned it, it's probably on one of the shorts, I think. Once that's done, it's going back to England for sale, and then I'll start the restoration of this, and we're going to do a lot about it. It's what's the right way to put this? It's a mysterious car. It's had lots of false history related to it, but when I saw this car, I'd already knew the chassis number because I tried to find it 25 years ago, and I had some friends that got me some numbers, but I couldn't get the address or the name of the guy that owned it. So when it did come up for sale, when I saw it, I knew it was the car because I knew the chassis number. I'm looking forward to restoring it. It's going to have nothing, it's going to want for nothing. Thankfully I've got most of the original parts. I'm going to try and keep as much steel as I can from the original car, but there's stuff that you know, it's like the wings, the wings obviously are not the two bits of original kit. I don't think, you know, it's really worth putting those back on. I think they'll probably go as wall arts in my garage. So yeah, so like the doors were taken off it and they were stored on the floor. Well, the doors are somewhat rusty where the moisture's just come up. So yeah, we're looking forward to doing this one. I'm sure a guy will be coming over and helping me with it from time to time. It'll go on the body roller. I'm not going to over restore it. It's not going body colour underneath. It'll be probably as it sort of came out the factory, but probably a bit better because as I said earlier, sometimes the X-pack built by Ford were not always of the greatest quality. So yeah, so there we go. I've got the original smashed up bumpers. I've got even the broken lights and stuff like that. I haven't thrown anything away, but it will be getting stuff like new lights and new bumpers and stuff like that. It's only, you know, the car deserves it. So I hope you're going to enjoy this episode. Send it to all your mates, you know, all your Capri heads. This is not only is it a special car because it was used in the Professionals, but this is the first X-pack Capri, you know, the one, and it's been missing for so long. The rest of them, you know, I'll say all the other Professionals cars have always been accounted for, you know, they've all been for sale recently or whatever, this, that and the other. This is the last one that's not been ever documented since, you know. It's never come up for sale. There's, you know, as I say, the mystery surrounding it. So I'm going to put all that to an end. This is S00636R. I hope you like Mangusto Garage. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Share this with all your Capri heads, and we'll see you on the next one.